Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. On Wednesday night, ASIO Director General Mike Burgess made a number of startling revelations in a Canberra speech. He revealed a sophisticated foreign interference operation that allegedly saw a former politician cultivated and recruited. Burgess went on to say this politician sold out their country, party and former colleagues to advance the interests of the foreign regime. This was apparently the work of an A-team, a dedicated unit within another country's intelligence service that focused primarily on Australia. The ASIO chief was at pains to point out that while this team was aggressive and experienced, ASIO and its partners have been able to map out its activities and identify its members. This is a very complex issue and a pretty confronting one too, to think that Australia is a primary target for a foreign entity and that they may have succeeded in recruiting a former politician to help them. My guest today knows this world better than most. Michael Shoebridge is the founder and director of defence and security think tank Strategic Analysis Australia. He was previously the director of the Defence Strategy and National Security Program at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute in Canberra, and prior to that held a senior role within Australia's intelligence agencies. Michael Shoebridge, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Sean, great to talk with you.
What did you make of Mike Burgess' speech the other night?
I think it's a fine thing to have the head of our domestic security agency stand up and tell the Australian public what are the kind of threats that are confronting Australia and what's ASIO doing about them. But beyond that, I think he told us some very disturbing things that other people in Australia need to act upon.
Was he right to tell us that stuff, do you think?
Absolutely. He didn't give away any secrets about how ASIO does its work, anything that would be valuable to these foreign intelligence agencies that are seeking to harm Australia's interests. But when he told us that 2 Australian politicians have been caught working for a foreign country spy agency, I think that was the most disturbing thing we heard. The stuff about terrorism, very important. Cyber intrusions, very important, but it was really the success of this foreign spy outfit in recruiting 2 Australian politicians that was most disturbing to me.
Okay, so let's just talk about that part of his speech. Over the past 24 hours, we've had opposition leader Peter Dutton come out saying we need a name of that former politician. You mentioned 2, but we seem to be focusing on one here. Former Treasurer Joe Hockey came out, basically said the person was a traitor, should be named to avoid other former politicians being smeared. Defence Minister Richard Marles has come out and said, no, we're not going to do that. Where do you stand on that? Why would you name the person and why wouldn't you name the person?
Well, I think this is a pretty simple issue. I don't think it's the ASIO chief's job to name the Australian politician, but I think it is the ASIO chief's job to have done the work they've done, to gather the information that says 2 Australian politicians, but let's focus on the one who is an ex-politician. He's done the work to gather the information to say, yes, it's a foreign country spy agency. Yes, this politician has been working with them. This politician, in Mike Burgess's words, his words were, they've sold out their country. This person, this former politician, has sold out their country, and they've even introduced their spy handlers, suggested that they try and recruit someone in a Prime Minister's family. So he's done his job. What should happen now? Well, we've got espionage laws in the country, and we've had them since 1914. It's a crime to act at the direction of a foreign power to damage the security of Australia. It was a crime at the time this politician was doing what they're doing. This is a case where there should be a criminal prosecution brought by the Attorney General, backed by the Federal Police and the Director of Public Prosecutions. So it's not ASIO's job. He's done the right thing, but he's now passed the ball and a prosecution should happen.
So has he passed the ball? Has he given that information to the Federal Police?
Well, he's provided a whole bunch of it publicly. And in fact, the amount of information he provided was extraordinary. He said, this is done by this A-team. A foreign country's intelligence service has a particular team devoted to doing this to Australia, and they've had outrageous success. And he also told us that the politician was confronted about it, and so he's sure he won't do it again. but the harm has been caused. So he's got enough information to do those things. That's the start of a brief for prosecution.
Stay with me, Michael. We'll be back in a minute. I'm speaking to Michael Shoebridge, founder and director of Strategic Analysis Australia. I don't want to become political about this at all, but just the fact that politicians do make commentary on it saying, I mean, the opposition leader, Peter Dutton, past 24 hours has suggested it was an ex-New South Wales Labor MP. He then said he was speculating. So I hasten to add here, we don't know who it is. Does it help when politicians, either side of the fence, kind of jump into this debate?
I think politicians have every right to want the public's trust in them strengthened and not corroded and damaged. And the problem with this revelation is every politician is a potential suspect until we know who it was. And if you commit a crime and there are no consequences for you committing a crime, well, what is the point of our justice system? So we've just had a Vietnamese businessman convicted of foreign interference working with the Chinese government to try and corrupt our political system. That's a conviction that's just happened. Why should we not be hearing about an espionage prosecution of this politician? Why should they be able to live their lives fat, dumb and happy after having been confronted with being discovered and nothing happens?
Couldn't agree more. I want to move on to the idea that a foreign entity has an A-team specifically targeting Australia. Is that unusual, do you think? For we who don't have your knowledge, don't have your experience, it's kind of slightly frightening that there's a country out there who's sort of targeting us.
Well, the ASIO chief told us last night that it's not just one country that's targeting Australia. Intelligence agencies from a number of countries are doing it. But, this is like from Orwell, all animals are not actually equal. Some intelligence agencies from some countries are much bigger, much better resourced and much more aggressive than others. Two of the most aggressive, best resourced intelligence agencies on the planet are the Russians and the Chinese. And out of that, the Chinese dwarf the Russian capability. So the question with China is not, are they likely to have done it? Because they've got form. That's why the Australian Parliament strengthened those foreign interference laws in 2018. It was Chinese intelligence penetration that made us strengthen our laws. So we know they've got form. But the question is, which of the many Chinese intelligence agencies that are trying to do this could it have been? Because it's like an alphabet soup of different agencies. I'll just give you a short summarised list. The Ministry of State Security, the Ministry of Public Security, the United Front Work Department, and then the various intelligence arms of the Chinese military. These compete and fall over themselves to be first to do this kind of thing. So they're the primary suspect, just when you run the numbers.
What are they trying to get? What is it that is not available to the public that these state entities want?
Well, they want to influence political decision-making, and you do that by cultivating people, talking with them, putting your ideas in their head. You do that as much by co-opting them, by giving them gifts, giving them money, telling them how wonderfully intelligent they are, as you do by coercing and blackmailing them. And the thing about former politicians that makes them so vulnerable is that phenomenon Gareth Evans talked about when he left politics. He said the hardest thing was he suffered relevance deprivation syndrome. So if you've been a powerful political figure and you stop being a powerful political figure, it's a wonderful opportunity for a foreign spy agency to sidle up to you and tell you how much they admire your sparkling intellect and your insights. And look, they know it's beneath you, but they'd love to pay you to have more of these wonderful insights. So that's what they want. And why are they interested in Australia? Well, Australia's got a whole lot of valuable intelligence and military information, our own and our Five Eyes partners. And also, what Australia does in the world can really matter. Think about back in 2018, Australia took a decision to exclude those big Chinese 5G vendors from our 5G digital network. It changed world policy on those vendors.
Hmm.
So that's a multi-billion-dollar decision, and it's also restricted the reach of Chinese cyber agencies. So this is why they're interested in Australia.
It's going to be great to watch, Michael. Thank you very much for talking to Fear and Greed.
Thanks, Sean.
That was Michael Shoebridge, founder and director of Defence and Security think tank Strategic Analysis Australia. This is the Fear and Greed business interview. Join us every morning for the full episode of Fear and Greed, Australia's best business podcast. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.